Today we're going to be doing a follow-up to our Milwaukee M12 multi-tool review that we did a couple months ago where we compared our regular M12 versus our M12 Fuel. We were recently given this M18 Fuel version to kind of see how this stacks up against our M12. So my goal here today, we'll briefly talk about some of the similarities and differences between these two models. Then we'll also get into a demo where I'll first compare both of these against our cup of water over here in regard to vibration. If you saw the last video we did on this, we saw that this M12 produced a lot more vibration than our M12 Fuel did. So I want to see if we see a similar comparison between this M18 over here as well. In addition, we'll do a couple cuts on some baseboards, etc. there to kind of see where they stack up against speed. And I'll also throw in this Forge here to see if we see any improvement on our M18 as well. Starting over here with the M12, this is model 2526 and it retails roughly around $159 as a bare tool, and I have saw it on sale around $130. Over here is Milwaukee's M18 Fuel version, and this is model 2836, and this one retails roughly $229 as a bare tool and on sale around $190. In regard to some of the specs on both of these, they both have a brushless motor capable of 10,000 to 20,000 OPM. They also both have a variable dial speed. On our M12, we have a 12 speed over here. On the M18, it's going to be 10. In addition, over here on our M18 version, we have this auto low feature. And what that's going to do is just going to slow down the initial cut speed when you're working on material. So if you're working on anything where you need more of a precision cut, what this will do, it'll tone it down a little bit, then it'll gradually automatically increase the speed. We'll test that out a little bit later versus using the auto start feature in the 10 to see if we see any difference in that. But that is one thing different on the dial over here on the M18. In regard to the oscillating angle, over here on our M18, we have 4.2 degrees, and on the M12, it's 3.9. So in theory, our M18 should be able to remove a little bit more material a little bit quicker. Then the one last thing on the differences is the LED. On the M18 version, they advertise that 180-degree angle, and we do see that this is a little bit, bigger angle here. So in theory, that should give us more light than this M12. With that said, I've used this one before and has plenty of light, but again, that is just one of the other differences between the M18. Moving on to some of the dimensions and the weight of these, our bare tool on our M12 is going to come in at roughly 2 pounds, 5 ounces. Our M18 is 2 pounds, 9 ounces. So roughly about 4 ounces heavier our M18 version is. If we just put a couple batteries on here, and on the M18 we'll just do the 5.0, it's going to increase the weight to roughly 4 pounds, 3 ounces. Over here on our M12, we'll put a 5.0 high output on this, and it's going to come in at roughly 3 pounds, 4 ounces. So our M18 is a little bit heavier. The overall look and feel, these literally look like the exact same tool except they're just different batteries. Really the only difference is our M18 is a little bit longer, and it's mainly because of our larger 18-volt battery in the back. But they are literally nearly identical in size, and I'll give you a couple close-up pictures of these, and I'll also throw in the regular M12 and the regular M18 in there as well to kind of give you a size comparison. The only other thing I can tell that's kind of different is how they kind of slim down. It looks like on the M18 it slims down a little bit more drastically versus the M12 is more of a gradual, but in regard to that handle, it still is the same size on both of them. And the one last thing, it does look like that dial is in a little bit different spot there, so that could be something of concern if you're going to be holding your hand right here. I can see that dial getting in the way versus over here on the M12 it looks like it's in a better spot, but outside of that, again, they look to be nearly identical. To change the blades on both of these, they both have the very same setup where you're just going to raise this lever up here, then you're going to loosen up this dial here, and you can slide your blade in there. Then just loosely tighten this. Then once that's tightened, simply push that down, and now your blade's changed. Moving on to our demo here, the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a vibration test, and I'm just going to be using this cup of water here. If you've seen my other video, as I mentioned there before with our regular M12, we do see that some of these produce a lot of vibration, and it shows up very easily on this cup of water. I'm going to first do a comparison of both of these. Then we'll also do a similar comparison when we'll cut some baseboards and a couple 2x4s. We'll just be using some of these Milwaukee blades on both of these, just to kind of see where these two stack up, not only from a speed, but in regard to this M18, I'll do a quick test on the auto load versus the regular 10 and see if we see any speed differences. And in addition, I'll also throw in a comparison with our 5.0 versus our Forge battery. If you've seen some of our other videos out there on these Forge batteries, we do see that these give a lot of M18 tools more power. I want to see if we see any additional power gains on this fuel version over here as well. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so what are my final thoughts here? As you saw there in a couple of those demos, when we first started out with the vibration, when we had speed 12 on our M12 here, and we did speed 10 with our M18, there was hardly no difference at all. And you saw as we ran across that cup, we didn't really see any vibration. When we switched it over to the auto, we seen quite a bit of vibration coming out from the handle here and up here. When we switched it back over to speed 10, we didn't see any vibration again. So we did confirm you are going to get some vibration if you use this auto feature. And honestly, initially when I did that test, I was a little bit surprised with that, but you really shouldn't. If you take any of these tools and you dial down the speeds on any of them, you're going to feel more vibration. Once you get it up to that full speed, they're almost geared towards the least amount of vibration at their max speed. So that was really no difference, but that is something to keep in mind. If you are getting these tools specifically for that auto feature, you really have to accept that there's going to be a little bit more vibration, because when it first starts out, it's at a lower speed, it's going to vibrate a little bit. When it throttles up, then you'll see that vibration go away. So that is something to keep in mind in regard to vibration. Moving on to the moldings, we did see some different variations between the two. The first is from a speed standpoint, when we have our M12 full speed again at the 12 and then our M18 over here at 10, I did notice that our M18 seemed to be a little bit quicker, which honestly shouldn't be surprised because it does have that larger oscillating degree angle, and that's really just geared towards allowing you to remove more material a little bit quicker. So we did see that it was a little bit quicker. How much quicker in a real world experience, it's really hard to tell, and honestly using these back to back, I really didn't tell any difference. Only way I was able to see that one was maybe a little bit quicker was after I did the editing of the video and I saw it side by side. But using these in a real world experience, you're probably not going to see a difference in the speed. When we switched it over to the auto, it doesn't matter if we were comparing the M18 Speed 10 to the M18 Auto or the Auto over here to our M12. Obviously that's kind of to be expected. This auto was going to be a little bit slower because the motor was throttled down, so that really wasn't a surprise either. With that said, this auto feature, if you saw the one angle cut, now maybe my board wasn't as tight as it should have been, my clamp kept loosening up, but we did notice that I can really see the value of using this auto if you're at an angle or if you're at an area where you need more of a precision cut. It's gonna really tone that down. And you saw when we did our M12 comparison, when it was really aggressively trying to chip at the end at the angle versus this was automatically throttled down. So I could really see at an angle or precision cut that this really could be useful. With that said, I don't really see the difference in if I just dial it down to a lower speed on any of these. If you're going to make your cut, then simply dial it back up manually. But if you're going to be doing it all the time, you always need that auto feature. It is nice that it does it automatically for you. When we did a couple of the cuts using our Forge battery, it did seem like maybe it was a little bit quicker, but honestly it was probably marginal at best. I did a couple of different ones and I really didn't see that big of a difference. And on these, I'm not sure if you really want it much faster with these. You start losing control the faster it gets. So maybe it was a little bit quicker, but honestly I think this tool is sufficient just on the regular 5.0s. So to wrap things up here, if you're looking at these from a price standpoint, I really think you can't go wrong with this M12. It is a little bit less expensive than what our M18 is, and really for me the biggest thing is the size. And as I mentioned there before and showed some of those pictures, the size is a little bit smaller mainly because of our battery back there. So I really do like the M12. With that said, if you're looking for the fastest tool, you can't go wrong with this M18. You saw in those demos, it was almost consistently quicker on each one of those demos that we did. Was it by a lot? Really not by much, but again, it was a little bit quicker. And the last thing really on why a lot of people choose this is really that auto start feature. And as I just mentioned there before, as far as throttling down manually if you have to do it on occasion, let's just say you might need a precision cut once every other couple days or not very regularly, you can very easily do that yourself as well with any of these tools. Just throttle down, get your cut, and as you're going in, just increase your throttle. With that said, that option actually worked a lot better than what I thought it was, to be honest with you. So I think there is some value in that. For me personally, it probably takes some time getting used to that motor constantly revving up and down. I mean, it constantly, is revving. I don't know if you could pick that up in the video there, but that is something that potentially, I don't know long term with the motor, will that cause any adverse effects to this motor as far as that constantly revving up and down versus, some of these others just maintain the speed. But it does work good with that feature if that's what you need. So hopefully this comparison helped you out. If you guys were, not sure if you wanted to go M12 versus M18 here, I honestly don't think you can go wrong with either one of these. If you're in the M18, you'll have no problems with that. Similar with the M12 over here. If you have both, personally, I have both. I think I still like this mainly because of the smaller size, to be honest with you. Yes, there are some additional features over here that's a little bit more powerful, but for me, for a lot of the applications I do, I don't necessarily need that, and I really do like the size of this M12. But again, I don't think you can go wrong with either of these. So hopefully this helped you out. If it did, please give me the thumbs up. If you're interested in more content like this, please hit that subscribe. But again, I hope this helped you out, and thanks for watching.